Welcome to Life Mastery for Women. I'm your host, Jen Mack, Lady of the Mind. I've been studying mind mastery and emotional management and energy work and its connection to spirituality for over 25 years. And in this podcast, I help guide you out of your daily struggles in life in the areas of health, wealth, relationships, and spirituality. Life is hard, but your daily growth doesn't have to be. Join me 3 times a week as I lead you inward on a healing, connecting, and creating journey. Let's go get that nugget of inspiration towards your transformation. Hey ladies, it's Jen Mack, Lady of the Mind. Welcome to today's episode where I hope I'm finding you overcoming bad habits. It is my intention that if you are not overcoming those bad habits, that I give you just one nugget of inspiration towards your transformation. You couldn't repeat that one, could you? I changed it a little bit, didn't I? I tricked you. I know that some of you are like all into the beginning, the intros, and you repeat it. I hear you. And so I changed it a little bit just to keep you on your toes. Actually, it was just a mistake. But anyway, so overcoming bad habits. You know, one of my favorite things to do is to tackle a problem I have head on, face the fear, look deeply into it, make a bunch of notes, journal the crap about it, do a bunch of research, and overcome it. My goal as an individual woman on this planet is to overcome the things that I was kind of given, or the things that I adopted as a kid. And growing up into the family that I grew up in, is to overcome those limiting beliefs and those blocks and those limitations to become the very, very best version of myself, and to end the ancestral habits and the ancestral line. You know, that now I don't have any biological kids, but energetically I have 3 sons, and I want to not instill those bad habits that have been instilled in me into them. And I want to change that. So energetically, I am producing a different version of myself on this planet, a new copy, right? A new avatar. And I want to encourage you to do the same thing. So when we're looking at our habits, you're going to need a journal for this one, I think. But I think when we're looking at our habits is to identify how those habits, what they do for us, how they benefit us, because every habit that we have benefits us in some way. So take this now, follow it all the way through. Let's say you were a smoker, a pretty heavy smoker. There's a benefit to you somewhere in the habit of smoking. There's a benefit. It satisfies a need. And as soon as you can identify the need in which smoking satisfies, you can now play with this a little bit, change the habit into something healthier, satisfying the same need. You are replacing that habit with something better. Then you're successful, and healthy. So I want you to get out a piece of paper, and I want you to look at your habits. And while you're doing that, I'm going to continue on with telling some stories of some bad habits that I had. One of my bad habits when I was younger was basically to eat solid sugar all day long. And obviously that has caught up with me a little bit, and sugar has an addicting quality that, from what I read and research, is even more addictive than cocaine. Now, I will say, for the record, I do have an addiction to sugar, but I am very well aware of why I have the habit, and I have other habits in place that provide a healthier version to sugar. Okay. So let me walk you through this whole story. So when I was younger, and I would get, and remember, I grew up with not a lot of money. And so when I would get my allowance, which was $5 a week, I would basically run off to the store and spend every single cent of that money on sugar products. Now, take the habit. So obviously I have created this habit with this money. I spend it on sugary stuff, and then it becomes an addiction. So every single time, because I'm satisfying a need, all of our behavior, write this down, all of my behaviors satisfy a need. Write that down. All of your behavior satisfies a need. That's why we behave. We're satisfying a need. Now that need could be for power. It could be for fun. It could be for survival. It could be to connect with others. It could be to, or did I say fun? Freedom? It allows me freedom. Okay. So when I was looking at this food, I get this $5. It satisfied a lot of needs. For one, immediately that $5 made me feel powerful. And in that power, it's because I had a choice. I have 500 pennies that can fulfill a need for me to have power. In that moment, I can go into the big barrel of 1 cent candy and I could buy 500 pieces of 1 cent candy. That's a lot of power, right? The other it satisfied in me was freedom. Because during the week, because of course, literally, you guys, I would take my bike, I'd get my $5, get on my bike and go to the store that was just down the hill across from the lake, and I would spend every single cent of that money. So within 12 minutes, all that money is gone. But what do I have left? What I'm left with is that I've had fun. I satisfied my need for freedom, and I satisfied my need for power. Now, this is what we're going to do with you today. We are going to take that habit, put it through a couple of framework pieces, some questions that you can ask, and then you're going to find a new habit, and then you're going to be left to your own devices to practice that habit. But I got you. I'll believe in you until you do. And we'll just keep going until major change happens in your life and your life succeeds in the way you want it to. So let's do this. When I go and talk about my sugar addiction, and I say, okay, so here's the thing, you're gonna write these down too. When I talk about my sugar addiction, one of the very first things is to identify the habit. What is the actual habit? Do you smoke? Do you swear? Do you shoplift? Do you drive raging in the car? Do you eat terrible foods? What is your bad habit? And how do I identify a bad habit? It is something that leads to an undesirable result. So the thing that you're doing, the thing that you're eating, the thing that you're saying, whatever it is leading to a result that you don't want. Okay? I don't want to have lung disease. I don't want to gain weight. I don't want to have a speeding ticket. I don't want to destroy my relationships. Okay? So figure out what it is that the bad habit is. Okay? Once you figure it out, you're going to, and that's identifying the habit. That's step one, is identify the habit. Now, going inward and making an agreement with yourself that says something like, I can change this habit. Identifying the power that you have inside to overcome it, to identify a new habit, to knowing that you're not stuck in this role, that you can change this habit when you decide to, and when you can come up with something that is equally, that's the whole point, and this is step 3, is equally as successful as the bad habit is in satisfying the need. So when we go back to my sugar addiction, I need to know that whatever the new habit is that I will satisfy that with, let's say, a cookie or chocolate or some sweet something, that satisfies my fun need, my freedom need, and my power need at what level? Now, the one thing is that it doesn't satisfy it for very long. Okay? So if I have a power need, okay, and I'm like, okay, I'm in charge of what I eat, and I'm going to go into the kitchen because, you know what, I just don't give a shit right now, right? It's either I'm emotional all the way at the top or I'm emotional all the way at the bottom, and you're like, you know what, I just don't care, I'm going to eat this thing, okay? Identify which need is being met. Identify which need is being met, and at what level is that need being met, and for how long. Once we can answer these questions, and I'll repeat them in a minute, once we can answer these questions, we now get to be creative, which is step 4, is what else can I choose that will meet this need better than the old habit does? Okay, so the needs again, so identifying the needs, a freedom need, fun, survival, connection, and power. Okay, so write those down. There's 5 of them. Freedom, fun, survival, connection, and power. So when I do this bad habit, which one of these needs am I meeting? Okay. Now, then you're going to ask, after you've identified the need, and so let's say my spending all that money, when I would go down to the party store and spend all that money, 2 things are happening. The spending of money is the habit, and the buying of sugar is the other habit. Which one do I want to satisfy? Maybe you want to satisfy them both. So for me, spending the money was a power need and buying the stuff was a fun need, and probably both landed under freedom. Okay. But let's just take one, and let's take sugar. Okay. Let's take the sugar. And to me, sugar was satisfying a fun need because I'm buying taffy, I'm buying pop, I'm buying 1 cent candy. It was fun to pick it out. They're colorful. They're tasty. It's unique every single weekend. I'm buying something different. I love I love Reese's peanut butter cups. So I was buying those. I love Mountain Dew. So I was buying that. I'm buying gum. I love gum. I love taffy. Right. And so that part is fun. Okay. So identify which need. To me, it's fun. Now that's which need is being met. Fun. What level? So on a scale from 1 to 10, I know I use a lot of scales in these episodes, but they're so easy to use. But what is the number? What is the level that is buying candy at? It's meeting this level of fun. It's meeting my fun need, but at what level? It's just sort of fun? Or it's just kind of, sort of? I mean, is it really, really fun? Is there something else that would be more fun? So I would say doing this as a kid, let's say it was probably a 7. Okay. So I'm going to put fun. I'm going to put 7 as the rating. And then for how long is this thing fun? Okay. Well, let's say it's, and I eat the candy. I'll eat the candy in one day. So I would say, let's say it's 5 hours. Because then we would go to the party store, and it was called T&M Party Store because the owners were Tom and Mary. It's called T&M Party Store. I would spend all the money, get the little tiny brown bag, it's smaller than it's like a little candy bag, right? So it's smaller than the a lunch sack. So teeny tiny little, and I'd have a glass bottle of Mountain Dew. I would have my Reese's peanut butter cup, and that was like $1.25. And then I would have a bunch of gum and taffy that came out of the big barrel that was the 1 cent candy, a bunch that would fit in this little bag. And then we'd go to the beach and we'd climb trees and we'd play on the beach. Sometimes we go swimming, we play on the playground. We would just hang out. We would, sit and talk and unwrap new candy and eat that. So I would say probably anywhere from 3 to 5 hours. So my rating is fun, a number 7 on the level, and for 5 hours. Now my job is, for one, I also need to decide, do I want to get rid of this habit? And if the answer is not really, then you're not going to be able to get rid of it. Even if your doctor tells you you're going to die in 3 weeks if you continue this habit. If you're still a no, it doesn't matter. Okay. You have to be a yes. The other side of this habit has to have something that is pulling you forward, that has a higher rating than your fun rating, than the sugar rating has. So picking the habit is not the hard part. It's deciding, I want to be on the other side of this because I don't want to gain weight anymore, or I don't want to have diabetes, or I don't want to get caught stealing and go to jail. I don't want to ruin my relationship anymore. Whatever that thing is, you have to be able to look on the other side and go, you know what? I want deeper connections. I want a healthier body. I want to save my money and travel to bigger and better places. I want to have more. And that other side has to be greater than the bad habit. Okay? That whatever the need is. Now we're not getting rid of the need. I still have a high fun need, but I'm now going to choose, I'm going to get that need met in a different way. Okay, so I still have a fun need, so I'm going to write fun down. Now, the new habit I want, because the old one of buying all these sugary treats is a 7, I want the new one to be a 10. So I'm going to write a 10. And not only do I want it to, the other one, buying candy, it only lasted like 3 to 5 hours. I now want something to last days. So whatever the fun is, I want the bucket to stay full for days, not just a couple of hours. So now this gives me a little bit to play with. And I go, okay, what else in my life is fun? Now let's take this as a kid and fits into my buying potential. So I have a $5 bill. Oh, you know what? I'm going to go and buy a toy, let's say instead. Something that's fun, that doesn't have anything to do with making me, a sugar addict or making me gain weight or have bad teeth or anything like that. That the habit is good. So I want to change the habit to a good habit. So I have to pick something that has a healthier, it's a healthier behavior. Okay. So instead of eating sugar, I want something that's healthier. Okay, so how about something that is, how about a toy? So instead of eating sugar, I'm going to buy a toy instead. Okay, it's healthier, right? It doesn't affect my health. And I can play with that toy for several days. So now the fun is higher and it lasts longer. So my bucket lasts longer. It's full for a longer period of time. Therefore, I don't have the need to go out and buy something else because my bucket is still full. Remember, we behave to meet a need. And if that need's not being met, then I have to continue behaving. And we learn bad habits from wherever, because on accident or by other people or whatever, that it becomes this bad habit and we don't realize it's a bad habit until way later. Like I didn't realize that sugar was really that bad for you until way later when, we're hearing about, teeth falling out of your head. And of course, you kind of hear that. My mom was telling us that, but I didn't know about diabetes. I didn't know about that it creates anxiety and yucky energy, that it prevents you from sleeping, that it makes you gain weight. Like there's all these bad side effects from eating a lot of sugar, and it has addictive traits. So I want to change all of that. So, okay, let's redo steps again. So step 1 is identify the habit that you want to change. Step 2 is know that you can change it. Step 3 is understanding why you have it based on these 5 fundamental needs: freedom, fun, survival, connection, and power. Is why do you behave? Which need are you trying to satisfy with this bad habit? And then create a new habit that satisfies the same need, but better, something better. I don't want to come in at a high fun need that is trying to satisfy the fun need and it comes in at a 5. Well, that's sort of fun. I'm gonna buy this, I don't know what, something else. And it satisfies it for less than 3 hours. And it comes in at a 5. I'm not going to sustain that new way of being for very long. Okay. So I need to assess all of this. And then once I do this, then the final step is to practice. Now go do it. Once you get the $5, go to the store, find a toy, make sure that it's something that's going to, let's say, okay, I was really big into hacky sack. I still am, even at 50 years old. I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to buy a $3 hacky sack. Now, when my friends and I go to the beach, we're now going to practice hacky sack, and we do it for hours and hours. And then we come back and we do it again the next day, and we do it again and again and again. To me, you have succeeded in replacing that habit. Now, I have spent less money, which is a bonus. I'm having way more fun with my friends, and I have the fun lasts for longer. And the bonus is it's healthy. Now I'm moving my body. I'm hanging out with my friends. I'm connecting with my friends in this way. Eating candy could be a little bit of a connection. Like, oh my gosh, I got this really spicy candy, the cinnamon hot, whatever. Or, oh my gosh, this sucker has gum inside. Or look at the comic that came with this piece of gum, right? So there's ways of connecting in there too. But do you see how this goes? Now, I know this was a childish example, but it is no different than stopping from eating or drinking things that are not healthy for you. And the other one of the steps in there is to know that on the other side of this bad habit is something that you greatly want. That is the other. If it's not something that you greatly want, you're not going to sustain that habit for very long. Okay, and I did put the steps in. I did put the steps in the show notes too, so you'll be able to see that. Okay, so I want you to practice this. I want you to get out your journal. You're going to write these questions down if you haven't already. They're in the show notes for you. And you're going to overcome this bad habit. And I want you to share with us in the Lady Rising group, if you're part of that group. Just tell them you came in through the podcast number. I think this is 341, how to overcome a bad habit. And I want you to share your habit. I want you to share your steps. I want you to share everything of which need it met. The old habit met the need at this different state or this different level, and here's the new habit, and here's the results. Let us support you in this endeavor. And I also want to give a little quick blurb about we are creating this community and helping each other to grow and to shift and change. And I want to give a big thank you for listening to my episode. If you're all the way through and you're still listening, is a big shout out to you. I think it's really important that we value ourselves in the growth that we're doing, because in the growth that you're having, the change that you're making, you are elevating others around you. If you're a mother and has kids, or you're even a father and you have kids, and you have some bad habits, let's say you smoke, and you're like, you know what, I listened to this podcast and I decided I'm going to stop smoking because it's terrible for my health, it's terrible for my kids, it's a terrible habit. They're looking at me and they're going to become smokers one day possibly, and I don't want them to do it. And I go out there and I smoke and I pollute the air around me and I pollute my lungs and so on and so forth. I decided that I'm going to stop smoking and I'm going to do something different. Your kids are watching you. They're watching and they're getting their beliefs met. They're getting their beliefs from you. And if they're seeing you change and you're making strides in changing your habits, they're going to be able to know that that's possible for them. So as you are doing this, you are not only elevating your own life, but you are causing a ripple effect in the lives around you. So I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you listening, and much gratitude for you. And please share. That's why I'm here. I want to build this community where people can come together and help us to grow, help each other in this community by linking arms together. So I'd love to have you come to my podcast. Come to my community on Lady Rising on Facebook. Put in the member questions that you came in through the podcast, specifically through whatever podcast episode you came in through. Like, I'd love to learn where you guys came in, and share in the group where you are in your life, what you need help with. Share your successes, share your struggles, and let's work this out together. If you enjoyed this show, please consider making a small donation. This helps me to continue creating powerful episodes for you each week, but also you become a bigger part of changing the world by changing yourself one episode at a time. By investing in my show, you are investing in yourself, your life, and your planet. And by elevating yourself, you are elevating others around you. And I thank you.